Hello and welcome to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live as coverage of the Classic IndyCar Series live from Kentucky Motor Speedway begins now. Randy Cheneth, Jack Stiles, Hugo Louis Calmon bringing you all the action here today. And before we get to anything here, Jack, first things first, we got a 4-lap tribute.
We do. Unfortunately, one of the league members, Andy Morgan, passed away just last week actually, and the league organisers Robert Grosser and Lucas Laville have decided that the first 4 laps of this race are going to be under caution, and we're going to have a silent 3-wide tribute lap around the Kentucky Motor Speedway for him. So it's a great gesture by these guys, and we will of course stay silent throughout that. So if you want to go down to the grid, Randy.
Yeah, we'll go down your starting grid very quickly, which will, of course, like you said, happen after lap number 4. But your starting grid as they run and as they will start will be like so. Michelle Constantini and Robert Grosser will be on the first row, with Henry Bennett and Sam Sanders making up row 2. Rory Collins and John Evans on the third row. Caton Bomber, Spatch, and Haynes Pitikainen, row number 4, with Johnny Garrett and Carson Brody rounding out the top 10. Sam Winton and Tyler Vickery, row 6. Androy Saunders and Jan van de Ven, on row number 7. Jack Turner and Alessandro Dalladone, row number 8. Randy Shoemaker and Tim Miller, row 9. Lucas Laville and Andrew Aiken, row 10. Mikkel Durlica and David Costello, row number 11. And Jonathan Diggs will round out the 23-car field as these guys will form themselves up. And they'll get ready for this 4-lap tribute to Mr. Andy Morgan himself, Jack.
Very sad news to hear of the passing of Andy Morgan. We saw a tribute to him in DGFX just recently, so we have a few words from his teammate Ben Saunders, which it reads as follows. As some of you might have noticed, former CIS member Andy Morgan passed away last week at the age of 62. Andy had a passion for racing, and he was loved by everyone in the CIS. His last race was the Indy 500 this year, which Randy, you commentated on, and he came back to do that because he loved Indy. That was his last CIS race. Andy was a gentleman racer, a talented painter, and so much more. He will be greatly missed. And all our condolences here at RaceSpotTV go to everyone, his fans, family, friends, and teammates at 4X Racing, which we do have a couple of here in the race today.
And as we come to the end of the 4th lap, that will conclude the memorial for Andy Morgan. Andy, I don't think any of these guys will forget you. But with that said, we now have 200 laps of classic IndyCar Series action to bring you here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. As we said, Michele Constantini and Robert Grosser, they will lead the field going down into corner number 1 once we go to green flag racing. It'll be 200 laps of action here for you today, and it is going to be a tricky one for these guys. Partly cloudy conditions, 85-degree ambient temperature, 112-degree track temp. 9 mile per hour, 10 mile an hour northwesterly winds fluctuating back and forth. So that's something these guys are going to have to deal with as well. Always in these Indy cars, a lot of tools the drivers have at their disposal to affect the handling over the course of this race. And a roll bar's front and rear can be adjusted. Weight jacker can, well, as it says, jack some weight around back and forth in the car to affect ride heights. And as always, wing adjustments in the pit lane, tire pressures as well. So oftentimes the setup you start the race with won't look anything like the setup you finish the race with. iRacing Mustang safety car makes the left turn to come down onto pit lane. And after paying tribute to a dear friend and a beloved iRacer, we await the green flag from the starter's gantry, and it goes green. Michele Constantini gets on the loud pedal and gets a huge jump over Robert Grosser as they go roaring off into corner number 1. Everyone foot to the floor. They have near speed of 200 miles an hour off that second corner and down the back straight for the first time, Jack.
Nice clean start from everyone now on this first lap. Obviously everyone's just getting a little bit later onto the start, but just looking a little bit side-by-side action for 4th. Henry Bennett going to drop down to 5th. John Elmsweimer just going to go round the outside here on the first lap. Obviously, oh, we got a yellow out, Randy. What's going on?
Got a big car up. So we got a car upside down at the exit of corner number 4. This is Michael Gerlicka. Not sure what happened here, but this was maybe a 3-wide fight. Yes, it was 3 wide between Gerlicka, Miller, and Dave Costello on the bottom. Gerlicka in the middle of the racetrack. Actually, I'm going to say Tim Miller from the top of the racetrack. He just came down 2 full lanes and drove into the side of Gerlicka. That wasn't Gerlicka's fault at all.
Yeah, Tim Miller just came down over the lane. Obviously, probably didn't see Michael Gerlicka on the inside. Maybe Spotter wasn't quick enough to tell him where he was. And that looks like Gerlicka's day over. He's down onto pit lane and going to some repairs to that number 57 machine. Unfortunate for him, just that start to the race. So back under safety car again, Randy. We didn't even get 2 full laps.
No, maybe a lot of people chomping at the bit, but still, probably a silly incident that maybe shouldn't have happened. But we'll go back to green flag racing here shortly here on RaceSpotTV. And of course, Michele Constantini, big jump he got. He of course still retains your race lead. For the most part, your top handful of positions remain unchanged. John Emsweiler, he moved himself up 2 spots from 6th up into 4th. So good start from him. Henry Bennett, he dropped 2 spots here in the early goings, Jack.
Yeah, I think our biggest mover and shaker at the moment is going to be Tyler Vickery in the 20 car. He's up to 8th position, up 4 places on where he started. Everyone's not really moved about him that much. Jonathan Diggs as well, a bit further down in 16th. He's up 6 places from where he started. He got a flying start. Lucas Laville is one you got to watch on. He's just been into the pit lane, probably to get some new tyres, but at the moment he is currently leading this championship. He has a rear of grid penalty, if for those of you who don't know, after an incident in New Hampshire, in which he took out not only Robert Grosser, but there was another incident as well, which I can't quite remember. He took one at the last round at Motegi. He's taken the second one here. Obviously, this is the second and last round in the Classic IndyCar Series for this year. So Lucas Laville's got it all to play for. At the moment, Robert Grosser is up in second, and Michele Constantini is currently leading. But Lucas Laville has to make his way up the field to keep that championship fight alive. If not, we could see Robert Grosser taking the lead into the final race at Las Vegas in 2 weeks' time. And that is not what Lucas Laville wants to do, especially after having wrapped up the Road Championship just 2 weeks ago.
So look for Laville to be aggressive given the point situation and get through the field. He started 19th in this race, so very, very deep, but a lot of time is what he'll have to find his way near the front of the field. And the lights on the iRacing safety car will go out this time through, so 1.5 more miles of caution, and we will be back to green flag racing. Now again, it's technically a 200 lap race, but the lap number we're going for, when you take into account the 4-lap memorial procedure, is lap number 204. So basically 4 laps that do not count in terms of competition, but still, that's something to keep in mind if you're watching watching online on RaceSpotTV. So, iRacing Mustang safety car lights back out, Jet. What do you think we're going to see on this restart?
I hope we're going to see some nice clean two-wide racing. Some nice overtaking maneuvers would be nice as well. Up at the front, I think you'll see Robert Gross and Mikhail Constantini. These two are teammates at Vortex Sim Racing. They aren't here, they're completely different cars. Number 66, Mikhail Constantini, is also currently leading the Oval Championship. He has 2 wins to his name and is leading that by quite a way. So he's got quite a lot to play for. He's obviously wanting that Oval Championship. The Classic IndyCar Series, we have 3 championships we're playing for. The Overall, which takes in the road and the ovals. We have the Oval, which currently Mikhail Constantini is leading. And we have the roads, which Lucas Laville has won with 3 wins. We have no more road courses left on the season roster. Sam Sanders just in 3rd and John Elsweimer is 4th, was going to come around to the green flag.
Pace car hits the pit lane, and Michelle Constantini is going to get on that loud pedal at any moment, and there it is, well timed almost by me. He gets that car revving up, building revs further, and again, Robert Grosser, very slow start here, and gives Constantini a pretty big gap as they go running through 1 and 2. 3 wide in your mid-pack for a moment there. I believe Johnny Garrett, as well as Keston Bombersback and Tyler Vickery was involved with that, and again, 3 wide deep in your field. Andrew Adair Saunders in the middle, David Costello on the bottom, 3 wide again behind as well. Tim Miller, Jack Turner, and we got Lucas Laville. I believe he's getting thrown up in the wall perhaps. Not sure what's going on there. These guys come across the front straight and into 1 and 2 to complete the first lap under green flag conditions.
Lucas Laville looks like he's just got around that lap nice and cleanly. I think he's having a couple of issues there with that number 10 car. So he's just going to come around the end of turn, or around the exit of turn 2 into turn number 3 for the 11th time, including our 4 laps at the start. Going to have a car come underneath him. That is, I believe, the car of Randy Shoemake. The 06 car behind him is going to be another car, the number 26 of Jos van der Ven, sorry. Excuse me, Andrew Aitken in the number 26 car. And then Mikhail Constantini is going to be leading this race by 3 tenths from Robert Grosser up at the front.
The huge gap already opened up from Michelle Constantini, and the bulk of that would have came on the restart. 4/10 of a second margin is nearly impossible a lot of times to reel in on these cars unless you have a huge pace differential. But let's take a look. Does that gap come down when they come across the stripe? It was 0.38 last time around. Well, he reeled in 100, so just a little bit, but that can be even a lot in these little Indy cars. So 100th every time around. He can reel that in. He will eventually get there, but it's going to be slow runnings there for Robert Grosser. Looking behind, though, the battle for 3rd and 4th is hot as well. John Emsweiler and Sam Sanders, they run themselves through the 3rd and 4th corner, and you see slightly different lines for the drivers. Emsweiler, he pushed it a little bit up the racetrack, basically one of the tire width higher or so in the corners. Sam Sanders, he liked that car a little bit down, lower near the bottom, through the middle of 1 and 2. They're going to come right now, and again, slightly different angles to the corner you see being run, but Sam Sanders reeling in John Emsweiler here. They run down the back straightaway. I think he's going to be potentially in position to make it pass fairly shortly, but as I say that, he loses a lot of momentum on the entry into the 3. Can he make it back up on the exit? Not so much here, Jack. Gets a little bit of a run, but not enough to close that gap back in.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of he needs that extra momentum that he hasn't got at the moment. Obviously, these cars are still going to be on full fuel. We haven't had many laps of racing, especially with green flag racing, so the tyres are still new, and the tyres will probably still not be up to pressure properly, and the tanks are still full, so these cars are not going to be as fast as they could be at the end of a stint. At the moment, Sam Sanders is currently sat in the trail of John Elsweimer. This top 4 is covered by just under a second, and currently fastest lap is going to go to Mikhail Constantini at 26.526. So at the moment, Mikhail Constantini is setting the track on fire, but very quickly he's going to hit traffic. Robert Grosser in 2nd, he's just staying on the back, but here we go, coming into number 3. Sam Sanders is going to look high, John Elsweimer is going to stay down low, just not going to be able to get it done this time.
Also looking behind, Henry Bennett fights with Hannes Petskinen as they come down onto the front straight of that 41 bright orange machine, trying to get himself back up into the top 5. We mentioned the fact that Henry started 3rd and he got shuffled back to 5th on the restart, where currently he sits in the 6th spot. To the inside he goes, off corner number 2, and he almost had that pass made, but he got a little bit loose, had to back out of the throttle, and that will give Hannes the position still. So the 41 still having to work for it. Lurking behind them as well, you have Caden Bombersback as well as Tyler Vickery as they come off and down the front straightaway. And here comes Bombersback. He wants to try to fight with that number 41 machine. He sees that orange number 41 is not very good getting off the bottom of the corner, so he looks high through 1 and 2. Down the back straight they come once again, and Bennett shuts the door, but Bombersback throws the undercut and gets down to the bottom of the racetrack. Into 3 and 4 they come. can the 67. Can he get the drive off the bottom and get the position done? No, he can't. Seems that the moment, Jack, that top side is where you want to be in order to be able to keep spots.
Yeah, I think he's just able to take a little bit more momentum up on the high line, the low line maybe just showing that the grip isn't there yet to take the speed through it. Caitlin's We've now got a three-way fight for 5th position between Hans Pitkin and Henry Bennett and Caitlin's Bommersbach looks like he's taken a slightly different line around the outside, keeping the gap, or they're saying that they're pulling out just slightly through turn 4, coming down onto the main straight to complete the 20th lap of this race. And Henry Bennett looks like he's going to be challenging Hans Pitkin into 1 and 2 this time round.
So, looking at Kinger's Bombers batch, if you like slot machines, 7th fastest in practice, 7th fastest in quali, currently running 7th in the race. So he's hit the jackpot in that regard, but can he get himself up a handful of spots? Henry Bennett trying to get around the fin of Hannes Pitkanen once again, and no, not going to be able to do so. That bottom of the racetrack seems that the tires on these cars pretty much die in such a way that you can't get much momentum off the bottom, and that's not much of a surprise. You see a lot of these sort of cookie cutter racetracks, especially the flatter ones such as here in Kentucky. You can see a lot of the vehicles on the iRacing service struggle with that, from the Indy cars as well as the NASCAR cars. You get more and more tire wear, well, that top side becomes what you want more and more. And the thing to keep in mind here, Jack, is we're 17 laps into the run. I didn't see anyone come down pit lane after that first caution, so tire wear for these guys might be an issue, as Henry Bennett is going to try to get around that fin in the 5th spot once again. Can he get the drive off the bottom? He has good momentum through the middle, but he just holds the exit so tight, and there's absolutely no speed to be found down there, it seems.
Yeah, certainly. And just going back to what you said about the first caution, we had 3 cars come down onto pit lane. Andrew Aitken, Brandy Shoemake, I apologise, Carson Brovey and Lucas Laville, who's just dropped back a few places. He's lost about 7 seconds.
He's coming down onto pit road.
He's down onto pit lane again. That's very early for Lucas Laville. I wonder what's happened here.
Could be setup issues for Lucas Laville. He started from the back. Doesn't look like he has any damage, so I'm not sure what's going on. This might be an off strategy call to try to get himself back into race contention. Let's see what this number 10 target machine does. Comes down onto the pit lane, hits his box. He's going to get jacked up. He's staying in the car. We should see shortly him get thrown off the jacks and go back out onto the racetrack. So yes, indeed, it seems that this is some sort of a strategy call, because that was not a long stop by any sense. Maybe making a slight aero adjustment, but regardless, an early stop for the 10, but I don't think it's so early that it's unreasonable, but it is on that really early side.
Just going back and looking at one of his previous laps, he looks like he might have got a little bit high up into the wall. So I wonder whether he had a bit of damage that they need to repair, but he's just sitting on that low line, waiting for the gap in the yellow line, and he's now going to jump back up high. But Lucas Laville, that's not the start to the race he wanted. 2 stops in 25 laps. That's not good for him. He needs some more luck to be able to go into Las Vegas in 2 weeks' time with the championship battle still in his hands. Robert Grosser, the best he could do is probably bring away a win or a second, and that is going to be the best opportunity for him. Going to go back and have a look at P number 9, Sam Winton, Rory Collins, Tim Miller. This is a 3-way battle for P9. Tim Miller's just going to creep his way up into 10th. He's going to go up into 9th as well as we come into 1 and 2. Sam Winton going to go high. He just cannot take the momentum through the corner. And look at this. Rory Collins in the 34 is going to come. We've got David Sassello as well in the number 12. He is up. He is flying at the moment, up 9 places on his starting position. We've got a 4-way battle here, Randy.
4 cars scrap, and it's actually going to become 3 as the Telemundo machine of Tim Miller runs away from that little fight, so it becomes a 3-car scrap. Rory Collins currently leads in this little battle. He sits in the 10th spot. David Costello, he takes 11th, and Sam Winton, he falls back into the 12th spot. So that number 14 machine really struggling at the moment. You see that he's falling now into the clutches of Andrew Aitken, Michael Gerlica, and Randy Shoemake. This is going to become another 4-car scrap. Keep in mind, Michael Gerlica, involved in that first caution that we had, got thrown up into the wall after the incident with Tim Miller. He is 2 laps down, but he's got repairs on that machine, but he is a factor in this fight. Andrew Aitken, he's now on the back of Sam Winton, who's still fighting with David Costello as they work themselves through 1 and 2. You see that Aitken's going to go to the bottom and not going to quite able to get the job done, as Sam gets a fantastic run off the top of corner number 2.
Yeah, it looks like Sam just able to get the traction out coming around the high line. He's going to go high again. Saves Sassello down to the low. The 26 is going to follow him high as well. He's going to be able to get round the 12 of David Sassello is Andrew Aitken in the 26. So Andrew Aitken is going to be up 1 position. Sam Winton was dropped down to 11th in all of this. Tim Miller looks like he's got best out of this. He has gone up to P9 and is now challenging Tyler Vickery in the number 20 machine for P8. Caitlin's Bomber Splash is a little bit further up the road in 7th position. Looks as though our front end at the front, it's all sort of settled down a bit. Lucas Seville is going to try and get involved with Sam Sanders, who's currently in 4th. Lucas Seville is about a lap down at the moment. Robert Grosser and Mikhail Constantini have driven off into the distance, Randy.
And actually, just looking at this fight that's happening around top 5, Henry Bennett seems to have some sort of issue because he just had a very slow lap time, 29.871, which is a full 2 seconds off the pace. That number 41 machine, I don't think all is right that last time through. Let's see if he comes back in terms of speed this time around off the final corner down the front straight. Let's get an idea of what the lap time is. 27.589. That's a little bit more of what you want to be doing in terms of lap speed. So he's got that 41 back up and running pretty much at a competitive pace. Tim Miller behind is reeling him in though to the tune of about a couple tenths per lap. So that blue Telemundo machine, he'll be there. But you're absolutely right, Jack. The top 2 have absolutely stormed away from the rest of the field. Just for example, I mentioned Tim Miller doing 27.5s. Michel Constantini, he just did a 27 flat. Robert Grosser just did a 26.9. So the pace of the top 2 is huge compared to the rest here, Jack.
Yeah, just looking back at what happened to Henry Bennett to cause that slow lap. He looks like he had a bit of a brown trouser moment at 300 kilometers an hour. He decided to get a bit of a slide on coming out of turn 2. That explains the slow lap and the couple of drops positions. It's going to promote Caitlin's Bomber Splash up into 6th, and Hans Pickenden is going to stay 5th. Tim Miller is actually not too far off the back of Henry Bennett and Tyler Vickery and Rory Collins. We've got a good fight here. Andrew, who's this coming down to the inside? The number 57. That is Michael Gerlicher. He is 2 laps down, and he is challenging the number... I'm not sure who that is, Randy, but he has just gone down the inside.
34.
Yeah, the number 34.
So 34, Michael Gerlicher, it's important to keep in mind, he is 2 laps down. So he really doesn't have a horse in this fight, but that said, he could potentially catch Lucas Lavelle. But the gap is pretty big between those two, coming off the 4th corner. Michael Gerlicher right now, and Lucas Lavelle is now coming off the 2nd corner. So it's basically 2/3 of the lap, the gap between those two. And looking back out at your lead fight, Robert Grosser and Michel Constantini, the gaps are just sort of ebbing and flowing back and forth. One of them will reel in a 10th, and then Constantini will reel that gap back out a 10th, back and forth. Robert Grosser that last time by, 700 is what he reeled in Constantini, and I think we're going to see that gap again fluctuate at the end of this at the end of this lap as they come down onto the back straightaway and they can see the first lap car or would-be lap car of Johnny Garrett, who runs himself through 3rd and 4th. So they're going to be hitting traffic here, I'm going to say, in about 5 laps time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some side-by-side action between the 12 and the 06, and also the 34 of Rory Collins. We've got David Cicello going to go down low. Rory Collins and Randy Shoemaker going to go up high. Sam Williams just a little bit further back in the number 14 as well. Just watching these guys battle it out. Cicello going to go down low. Looks like Shoemaker in the 06 going to have the drive. 34 just about avoiding the wall, and Shoemaker's going to go up 2 positions, or 1 position, I believe, just not getting the pass done by the line on the number 34 he has now. So Randy Shoemaker is going to get promoted up into P11, and Sam Winton wants a piece of this. He's going to go high around the outside of David Cicello. Those two are going to stay side by side, coming down to 3 and 4.
This 3-car scrap still happening here as Randy Shoemaker's gotten a little bit of a gap over it as Rory Collins still trying to fight, and he runs the middle of the racetrack, and you see the run that Sam Winton gets off the top side of the racetrack, and they're going to be 3 wide between them as they run down the front straightaway. No, they're going to get it back to at least 2 wide, mostly single file. As the 12 gets to the bottom. That's David Cistello, and again, now they're going to be 3 wide as Rory Collins tries to work the middle of the racetrack, but there doesn't seem to be much speed there. Sam Winton off the top side is going to work the momentum down the back straightaway into 3 and 4 again. Going to wind it up and take as much centrifugal force off the corner as he can, and look at the way he just runs from Rory Collins. The middle of the racetrack seems to not be where you need to be here, Jack.
Center of the racetrack just doesn't seem to have the grip and the momentum which the drivers need to get around it. You either want to go low or high to be able to get the best lap times, and that is what Rory Collins is struggling to get.
So again, they come down the back straightaway, your race leaders. The gap over the rest of the field, well, it's 1 second between Mikhail Constantini and Robert Grosser, and it's 3.6 seconds between Constantini and John Zensweiler. So about 2.5 seconds is what your top 2 have over the rest of your field. And now your race leaders begin dealing with traffic. This would be the 2nd car in line, I do believe, they would have gotten by. Yes, indeed. So that was Jos van de Ven that they are now putting a lap down. Next in line is going to be Jack Turner as they work themselves into the corners number 3 and 4. So we're having a bit of an interesting situation here in terms of on the racetrack. A lot of spread out racing here for the most part. Field pretty spread out. Another fight that's forming up here is happening around Rory Collins once again. This is Carson Brody as well as Tyler Vickery as they run through the first and second corner. You also have Jonathan Diggs involved in this fight and Andrew Saunders as they run down the back straight. So 4 or 5 cars all jostling for position. They're side by side, 2 by 2 right now. Through the 3rd and 4th corner, Collins on the top, Brody on the bottom. This is for 13th and 14th on the racetrack, and we're still watching Rory Collins fall further and further and further down the front straight into 1 and 2. They come, and Brody is going to get that spot for now. The 34, though, has the top side of the racetrack, and we've seen the momentum he can carry off there be absolutely insane, but he falls again, so not able to carry the speed he would like. Now, Jonathan Diggs, he will have his attempt, or will he? They're going to go 3 wide, almost behind. No, I take that back, and they come back off the 4th corner. Fight's going to get themselves somewhat diffused for the moment, but Diggs is still working the bottom on Rory Collins down into 1 and 2, and I think we're going to see the 34 Collins fall back once again. Jake, you see he's just so slow in the middle of the racetrack. It's almost it's a full 6 mile per hour difference, the mid-corner speeds between Collins and Diggs.
Collins almost looks like he's got no tyre life left in his tyres. I mean, he's been going on this stint for about 42 laps now, and so those tyres are starting to get old, they're starting to get worn, and I think that's starting to show in his driving. Johnny Garetta's also just having a few issues there. He's a bit further down the field, 5 laps down on your leader of Michael Constantini, who's now opened the gap to 1.6 seconds. So Rory Collins is going to get overtaken again.
So Rory Collins really struggling for the speed right now as the Ford machine of Andrew Saunders. He's going to now try to, he's going to now have his attempt at Rory Collins. They work themselves down the front straight. And once again, you also have Tyler Vickery, who's now gotten himself in the fight because the 4 had absolutely no momentum off the final corner. And into 1 and 2 they come, and you're going to see that Vickery tries to work the top side with Collins, but there's no speed up there. But that said, Collins seems to have found something. All the while, here comes Robert Grosser to put this entire group down a lap. They're going to be 3 wide for a moment as Robert Grosser does that, and Rory Collins, because of the leader, is going to be able to stretch a little bit of a margin over those drivers he is fighting with. A little bit deeper, a little bit further up the field, Henry Bennett and Tim Miller, they're somewhat close. We saw Tim Miller making huge runs to get his way through the field. He rolled off 18th in this race. He currently sits 8th and is so up 10 positions from where he started. Henry Bennett, however, opposite story from him, started 3rd. He is down in the 7th spot. We've seen that orange number 41 machine struggle pretty much all day long. They work themselves down the back straightaway as they're quickly approaching the conclusions of the first 50 laps here out of 200. 8 laps till we get to that point. And, you know, just to reiterate, we did have that 4-lap memorial at the start. So it will be lap number 54, which will be the 50-lap marker that these guys are going to be looking to hit.
Yeah, it looks like John Armstrong is going to come down to the pit lane. We are having a couple of laps, a couple of cars coming down to pit lane, one being John Armstrong, the other one being the car ahead of him. I believe that is Andrew Saunders in the number 4, so he's a little bit further back, but we've got some of our leaders already down to pit lane, so pit stop cycle is starting once again. Let's see what the leaders do with Michael Constantini and Robert Grosser. Lucas Laville obviously is going to be staying out longer because he is already on his 2nd or 3rd run of the day, and Michael Gerlich are probably doing a very similar thing because he has already been down onto pit lane once. But it looks as though we're just watching all the cars. We can't really give you any accurate positions at the moment because everyone's just going to be tumbling through the field.
Yeah, and especially because we do have some pit stops cycling through, and this is going to be the pit strategy you always see in these cars. A lot of times you will see people go for the short pit, other people go for the long pit. So here comes some drivers off pit lane. Andrew Saunders, he's off pit lane. John Emsweiler as well. So still a handful of cars that need to hit the pit lane. That number 34 machine Jack that we saw falling through the field of Rory Collins, he's now in his box. He's jacked up. He's going to get 4 fresh new Firestones. As you see Sam Winton, he's going to just breeze past him on that right side. And still most of the field continues to circulate out there on the racetrack, yet to come down on a pit road.
Yeah, I think we're just going to see guys filtering down. We've seen Caton Spermelbatch and Tim Miller also going to enter pit lane on this time. They're a bit further down, P6 and 7 at the moment, but they're going to start tumbling as well. It just looks as though the leaders are going to be staying out, trying to do some longer runs, whether they're going to be kicking up the dirty air, getting onto the dirty parts of the circuit at the moment because they are hitting traffic. Michael Constantini and Robert Grosser, we've just seen in the last few laps, navigating traffic around the outside, going down the inside, going down the middle, down the straights, and that gap has opened up to 2.5 seconds at the front. Sam Sanders has now dropped about 6 seconds back from Robert Grosser as well, so he's losing a lot of time in traffic. Traffic is starting to get away in the leaders.
It really is. They have lost a lot of time through the traffic, as we're going to see that Telemundo machine of Tim Miller. He's going to work himself off of pit road. And I think right now, if you're Michael Constantini or Robert Grosser, you really have no reason to come down onto pit lane at the moment, because you have, you figure if you're Constantini, you have a 2.5 second gap over second place. I would just basically run this fuel tank dry and then come down pit lane after that point. Don't really want to overthink a situation like this. Just run laps, run laps, run laps. Maybe prevent Robert Grosser from getting significant undercuts, so keep an eye on him. Maybe if he comes down pit lane, maybe you just come down a lap or two after that. But I think if you're the 66 machine, you're fine just sitting out and maintaining this gap that you have right now.
2.4 seconds is the gap now, and that is something which I don't think you'll see Robert Grosser is going to be able to close it up in the pit lane. Michael Constantini has been on fire all season on the ovals, and I have not seen him put 1 foot wrong in the pit stop so far, touch wood. So Robert Grosser, just the gap is going to extend once again. Sam Sanders looks as though he might be coming down to the pit lane this time. Andrew Aitken is going to be pitting this time as well. So Michael Constantini, let's see what he does. He's going to stay out. Same with Robert Grosser. They're going to stay right up into turn number 2 and 3. Let's see what Sam Sanders does. He is going to stay. No, he's going to dive onto pit lane. Your third place car is onto pit lane. Hans Pickenen as well is going to stay out. Thought he was going to make a late decision there, and so is Henry Bennett. So Sam Sanders is going to come down to pit lane. Only one of the top 5 so far.
So still majority of your leaders have yet to hit pit lane, but some of them made that decision last time through. Race leader again, he skips past the pit lane, as does Robert Grosser. Hans Pittikainen, he's going to be the next one where we see get the opportunity to come down on a pit road this time by. Let's see what the number 8 finish driver does. He is going to elect to stay out on the racetrack. Henry Bennett, he's going to be next in line, but he is dealing with a flurry of lap traffic right now, trapped in the middle of a 4-way fight essentially with Sam Witten, Cam Bommersbatch, and Tyler Vickery. That 41 machine, he does not have a dog in this fight. However, he's fighting side by side with them, and I think it's going to be a little bit frustrated because you end up in a situation like this, Jack, and those drivers are not simply going to just keel over, die, and let you go through. They need to fight their own fight, and you need to try to somehow, some way, find a way through it, and the 41 machine doesn't seem to have the pace to do so at the moment.
I wonder whether Henry Bennett's just starting to struggle with tyres a bit. I think Michael Constantini, your leader's going to be coming down onto pit lane this time. I don't think the 41 has got the tyres and the grip to be able to just keep the speed up which he needs. Caitlin's Bommersbatch is going to get a pass on Sam Winton in the 14 as well, going to move himself up into 16th position. So let's have a look at your leader. He's going to hit the pit lane now. He's on the limits at 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, probably the most agonising time in IndyCars is just that really slow bit down the pit lane, Randy, and he is going to come to his stop right at the, or pit stall right at the end of pit lane because he was off pole sitter.
So while he comes down pit lane, Robert Grosser did not. He stayed out 1 extra lap, and now he comes down onto pit road. So Robert Grosser, even though he had that 3 or so second deficit, Michael Constantini makes a huge mistake and blows right through his pit stall. That cost him a bit of a time, and that right there, Jack, I think you may have mentioned it. One of the most stressful moments happens when you're running down pit lane at 50 miles an hour, and a lot of times that's when you make the uncharacteristic mistakes. You lock up a brake pedal or a wheel or something, maybe all 4, and you slide right through your box. There goes potentially that 3-second gap, and Robert Grosser, he might just become your race leader if he can be clean through the pit stalls.
Yeah, Robert Grosser's just come to a stop to his pit stall, second from last in the pit lane. He's going to go up, down. The pit stop time for Michael Constantini was 11.3 seconds. He spent 41.2 on pit lane. What's Robert Grosser going to do? He's going to do 39.0. The lead could have gone. This could be crucial. It just all comes down to pit exit. Who can take the most speed on that flat line around the inside of turn number 1? Let's see. Is Robert Grosser going to get out in front of Michael Constantini? No, he isn't. Michael is going to go round the outside, coming out to turn number 2. And his gap looks like he's going to be up to about 2.5 seconds. Once again, gap is going to be about 1.2 seconds. Sorry. So Michael Constantini has regained the lead after all the pit stops. Although saying that, Randy, look at Carsten Brovey up in the front. He's already finished, or he's already done 1 pit stop, and he's in 3rd.
He already came down on a pit road. When did that pit stop actually happen, though? I think that pit stop happened That actually happened very, very early in the race here, Jack. So he still owes us a pit stop. I'm seeing slow laps around 7, 8, 9. I think he would have came down pit lane around then. So he still essentially owes us a pit stop. He's just a few laps off cycle, but what will essentially be his second pit stop, but the first of in terms where you need to come down pit lane in regards to fuel and tires. That should be happening soon. Hans Pitakainen and Henry Bennett, they've actually take that back. Henry Bennett just came down on pit road, but still Hans Pitakainen, he still owes us a stop, and I believe David Costello, John Diggs as well, I believe they're in that group who have yet to come down on the pit lane.
Yeah, we're looking at 5 drivers, 6 drivers so far who haven't yet pitted. Hans Pitakainen, who's currently leading the race. David Costello in the 12, Jonathan Diggs in the 99. Jos van der Ven, teammate of the late Adam Morgan in the 18, 83 of Jack Turner, and the 20 of Tyler Vickery. They still owe us pit stops, and they will be coming pretty soon. Henry Bennett is going to come out with 11.2 seconds stop, 41.2 seconds on pit lane. Going to cycle out in around 12th, 13th position. He's back out. Let's see. He's got a little bit of a gap back to Lucas Laville, but at the moment, Mikhail Constantini, as Hans Pitcairn pits from the lead, is leading your race after the pit stop cycle, and everyone has cycled through.
So pretty much everyone has cycled through already. We're just still waiting on Karsten Brody to make his final stop. Well, not final stop. His stop under these green flag conditions. Like we said, he made a stop around lap number about 56 laps ago, 57 laps ago at this point. So he still owes this one. And here he comes now down on a pit lane. That number 78 machine got out front, led a couple laps, but this is going to cycle him pretty far down the order, considering he's the last car to come down on a pit lane. And the gap that he has isn't very big over the rest of the field in terms of the leaders. Michele Constantini with only about 11 or so seconds back there. That was apparently under caution when he came down on pit lane, Jack.
Yeah, it was. I think I remember seeing him come down under that first caution that we've had. So far, the only caution in this race, we've gone a long spell under green flag, which is nice to see. David Costello looks as though he's currently leading this race, although he's going to dive onto pit lane, finishing his 65 lap stint, and he's going to be followed by the 99 of John Diggs. Sorry, he is on pit exit. He has done his stop. So just going to look at these cars as they cycle out. Mikhail Constantini is going to be leading. Carsten Brody is now getting underway after his pit stop, going to be hitting pit exit right about now. Pit limits are coming off 100 kilometers now, about 150 kilometers now. Already these Indy cars accelerate like you'd never believe. So much power and not much downforce, especially on the ovals. And it's just going to be interesting to see how people cycle out as they come through. Jack Turner is probably the only one he is the only one left to pit yet. Sorry. And the 83 is going to be diving down into pit lane now. So in about 2 laps, Randy will be able to give you an updated post-pit stop positions.
We'll be able to get that in a moment. But one thing we can say after these pit stops have cycled through, that Constantini is absolutely flying once again. We saw him have nearly a 3-second or so gap when he eventually came down on the pit road. He made that mistake, and that gap came down to roughly 1.2 seconds on the racetrack. However, in the handful of laps he's been out there, he has already wheeled out 2 seconds over Robert Grosser, reeling out, potentially 2 tenths every single time, and another couple tenths went by that time through as well. Constantini, we saw him make that mistake, Jack, and thought he may have lost the race lead. He managed to just retain it, and he's already stretched out a larger gap than he had before the stop.
Yeah, Constantini he is the master of the ovals so far this season in the Classic IndyCar Series. We saw him at New Hampshire. He was absolutely flying. You could not fault him, especially on the restarts of the cautions, because we had so many cautions in that race. He was just on the front every single time. It was a brilliant race to watch. Mikhail Constantini again doing it again here today, and I expect him to do it again in Las Vegas. Essentially, he just needs to keep himself out of trouble, keep himself towards the front. I expect we're going to see a few more cautions before the end of this race, Randy, especially with the back markers and the slower drivers starting to make the faster drivers a bit further down the field. And only 8 cars left on the lead lap, but Lucas Laville has managed to make his way up into 8th, yet he still owes us. He's on a slightly different strategy, Randy. He's 46 laps into his current stint. Just, is that strategy going to play into his hands or not?
It's really difficult to tell for that number 10 machine, Lucas Laville, and I'm not quite sure. I don't know enough about the fuel burn rates or the strategy that's going on for that number 10 machine, Lucas Seville. I honestly can't say whether it's a good call or not. But that said, Michele Constantini is the car that's in line next behind that number 10 machine. And, well, just looking at the lap times, it's not going to be very long until Constantini gets there and puts that number 10 target machine back down another lap. So if he wants to retain this lead lap here, Jack, he needs to pray for a caution essentially now. Otherwise, he's going back a lap down. And as always, in these IndyCar series, no lucky dog, so he will not, if he wants to get his lead lap back, he's going to have to do it the hard way.
And he's going to lose a lap anyway when he comes under, or when he pits, so he's going to go tumbling down the order. He's going to go back to at least 17th. First car who's 2 laps down is Jos van der Ven in the number 18 back in 17th. So Lucas Seville is, I'm not really sure about him today, Randy. He just hasn't shown us what he's been showing us all season long, and has not put in the performance that he needs, and that is disappointing.
So, indeed it is, especially for a championship contender not doing what he needs to do. And the thing is, he's going to tumble a lot further down when he eventually comes down onto pit lane behind a lot of these guys. But it's going to be one of those situations where it's going to sway back and forth between them. In terms of when he comes down pit lane, he'll lose a bunch of spots, and when they come down pit lane, they'll pick up a bit more. Looking a little bit further down the order, there's a fight that's happening right now for the tail end of your top 5. Hans Pitikainen and Tim Miller running 5th and 6th. They're rolling off corners number 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. Tim Miller, he is just, I believe, he's fighting to pick that spot up over the Finnish driver of Pitikainen, but he's not been quite able to do so. They work through 3 and 4. And, well, Hans just picked that spot up, I believe, actually, Jack. And look at the gap he's already opened up over Miller.
Yeah, quite an extraordinary gap Pitkin has already opened up. He did that coming into 1 and 2 on this, or just on the exit of 3 and 4 on the last lap. And he is already around half a second ahead. And to pull that on someone like Tim Miller, who is a master of IndyCars, and to pull that gap is extraordinary. Tim Miller will obviously not be annoyed. He's in 6th place. He's doing really well. He's usually someone we like to see in the midfield up towards the front. Hans Pitkin the same. So these two will probably have a good old scrap for the rest of this race, Randy. We have about 129 laps remaining in this event, and I'm hoping we don't hit the time limit, but that would obviously, so we can go full distance. But Robert Grosser at the moment, he's 3.5 seconds back from Michele Constantini. Constantini is flying.
Yeah, and he's doing it just through the traffic. I mean, it's. I think that's where Constantini's really getting this big advantage. He just, an absolute expert in dealing with this traffic compared to the rest of the field. And really, he's just making it look easy out there. And as his pace is sort of leveled off, I think he's opened that gap back out, Jack. And he's just, pretty much not pushing anymore the way he did when this stint started. Because when the stint started, I think he was driving that car as fast and hard as he could, and either Robert Grosser has found a little bit of something here 10 or 15 laps into this run, or Constantini has just basically backed off a little bit, saying, you know what, I got a big margin, no need to go hell-bent for leather.
I think Constantini will probably just be sitting back and saving fuel at the moment. Obviously, he's going to want to get that fuel life as far as he can, so he can save as much fuel as he can. So those stops at the end of the race are much shorter. Less time on pit lane means that you're further ahead out on track. Everybody knows that, especially if you are in the endurance racing scene, something which we saw last night in the yesterday in the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. But going back to here, it's going to be interesting to see these stints. Robert Grosser is going to go side by side with a back marker. That is going to be the number 26 of, I know who this is, I just need to find the name, Andrew Aitken. He's going to go high into turn number 1, just let Robert Grosser through on the low line. So Robert Grosser just getting his way around back markers, but last time half a second slower than Michele Constantini. Gap now 4.2 seconds at the front, but Robert Grosser's got 6 seconds back to John Elsbommer in 3rd.
Not really much happening on the racetrack in terms of fights right now. Next driver that's about to lose a lap, Henry Bennett. That's
Andrew Aitken's round. Aitken's just gone round in the exit of turn 4.
And we're going to stay green. We're going to stay green here after this. Andrew Aitken, as he came off corner number 4, going to get a replay of this up on your screen. So number 26 at the tail end of the lap, coming through the 4th corner. He is running the top side of the racetrack, cycled his way up, and when he just drove that car up into the wall, spun down into your infield section of the grass. And, well, we're going to stay green because he kept it off the racing surface here, Jack. He's on pit lane, out of that car. I think that number 26 is done for today.
surprised is that, oh, I would not be surprised. That was a heavy impact with the wall there coming out of 4, and that was a good driving there by Andrew Aitken not to have it spin back out onto the main racetrack. If it had, we would have had another caution. He just ran into the wall. A 300-kilometre now impact with the wall, especially with IndyCars, is not going to go well. He has broken steering, broken suspension, probably broken most of the things on the right-hand side of the car. So he is out of this event. But Robert Grosser's managed to gain 7/10 back on Michael Constantini. He's got traffic. He's got Henry Bennett, and he cannot get past.
Yeah, Constantini is struggling really bad with the 41 right now, and I'm not sure why, because Constantini has made short work of everyone else, and the 41 gets really loose off the 4th corner, and now that 66 machine cycles through. So I'm not sure what happened there, because we've not seen Constantini lose those sorts of chunks of time very much over the course of this race, and I think he just lost another 3 or 4 tenths as well. So the gap is back down from about 4.2 down to 3.3 seconds. So I'm not sure if Henry Bennett maybe just fighting tooth or nail for the race leader for no reason, or if something else is happening. We got one driver hitting pit lane. Lucas Seville, he's coming back down for his spot, his stop, and he's got damage on that right side, Jack.
Yeah, let's go and investigate. I'm going to go investigate, see what happened there. I can see the damage. It looks as though he's maybe hit the wall, hit a car ahead, but I have a theory as to why the 41 is having a bit of an issue. We saw him get sideways just about probably 60 laps ago, Randy. I don't think that car is stable. I think he's struggling to keep that car stable on the front. As we just see Lucas Seville, he certainly has damage on that right hand side, just having it repaired. You do get a fast repair here in the Classic IndyCar Series. We have one for the whole race, so Lucas Seville is going to use that one fast repair. He is going to get back out. Let's see where he cycles out, currently down in, he's currently 15th position and 1 lap down on the leader. Let's see where he's going to cycle out. I think Jos van der Ben's going to get past him, so he's currently 16th, and he is tumbling as he comes out of the pit lane.
So race leader, he's now going to work on putting Jonathan Diggs another lap down. That'll put him 3 miles behind your race leader. Tim Miller will be next in line, and that will be the first lap that he goes down. So here in a moment, it's just going to be the top 5 that are on the lead lap here, Jack. And, well, not much longer than that. It'll be inside the top 5 that are with drivers that are laps down, because Hans Pitakainen, he's only about a second ahead of Tim Miller. And you see Michel Constantini gets a fantastic run off the 4th corner and gets a big head of steam. He's going to look to the inside here through the tri-oval. So only the top 5 are the cars that retain lead lap status at the moment, and it's going to be an even more exclusive club than that once he gets up to the number 8.
You know what, I think that Michael Constantini and Robert Grosser might have a bit of an aim between them, and that is to lap the whole field, because at the moment, Michael Constantini has done all but 5 cars. The 4 cars he hasn't done is Hans Pitkin, Sam Sanders, John Alzheimer, and Robert Grosser. And Robert Grosser, I think, is too fast for Michael Constantini to lap, even at his level. So Robert Grosser is about 3.1 seconds back now. He is slowly catching, actually, Randy. I wonder whether that car is slightly better set up. He had a faster lap than Michael Constantini last time round, but John Alzheimer is so far back he is not going to be able to challenge.
Well, I'm gonna say that I don't think that it's due to the setup, because we saw that Robert Grosser, after the pit stops happened, there's only a lap between them. We saw that Constantini stretched out a 1.5 seconds basically on demand. So I don't think it's going to be really a worry situation for the 66 and Michel Constantini, because all we've seen this entire race is the gap slowly and consistently grow. The only time we've seen the gap shrink has been the result of lap traffic, and there's been a couple points where I think Constantini has gotten tricky points in the traffic that Grosser has yet to hit. For example, Grosser, he's yet to put Henry Bennett down a lap, and we know that Bennett cost Constantini a couple seconds. It could very easily go the other way, and Grosser might lose a second or 2 behind this orange number 41 that he's coming up to right now as they come off the 2nd corner.
Yeah, it just looks as though Robert Grosser's got that. He's going to gain quite a lot. Leaps and bounds here are going to go down low. Henry Bennett going to go up high in the 41. Let's see what Grosser can do off the exit of the turn. Not enough. He's going to sit behind the 41 for what looks like another lap as we come down to complete lap number 91. 114 laps left remaining in this event. So let's see what Robert Grosser can do. He's just going to sit in the draft, maybe trying to save a bit of fuel, because Henry Bennett isn't slow, Randy, but he's obviously slow enough to be lapped by the 2 leaders, and Robert Grosser is just going to go down low and get it done on the inside.
So or is he? Is Henry Bennett on the top side? He doesn't lift out of this, and he's trying to keep this race leader really, really honest. And I have to question this by Henry Bennett, because he did this to the race leader, and now he's doing it to P number 2 as well. Just fighting tooth and nail when you know that you're going to have a blue flag situation. As you see on the top side, he gets a bit of momentum, and I thought he was going to try to slot it up the outside again. But for Henry Bennett, that would have cost Robert Grosser about 3/10, actually about closer to about a full half a second is what that little moment cost the number 1 machine of Robert Grosser. Next in line, you're going to have Tim Miller, Jonathan Diggs, and Hans Pitkanen. And I think that's one of the reasons we saw the gap come down there, Jack, is because you look at, if you look behind what Robert Grosser just drove through, you have a huge amount of clean track between Michael Gerlicka and John Zemsweiler. That is where Robert Grosser was slotted into, and he was slotted into that clean track while Michele Constantini was dealing with this huge gaggle of cars that Grosser is now driving through. And I think now that Grosser's hit it, we're going to see that gap start to grow more and more consistently. As you see Constantini, he just got himself through a 3-car scrap. That is on the racetrack Randy Shoemake, Dave Costello, and Tyler Vickery. None of that is for position. All those drivers divided laps by laps. Leader in that little pack is on lap number 92. Then you got a driver on lap number 91, and David Costello is on the 90th lap. So a lap separating each of those 3 cars.
Yeah, Robert Grosser is just going to make his way around the number 2 car, Tim Miller, as well. And just going back to what you said, Randy, I think Michele Constantini he's pulling out that gap. The gap's already 4.4 seconds, 4.5 seconds. And
now he has clean track.
He's got clean track. He's going to be able to get the power down, get the good laps in. Robert Grosser, on the other hand, he's still got this 3-car train to deal with. He's still got another car to deal with as well. We'll just find out who that is. I believe that is the car of Hans Pitkanen in the number 5 or 8 machine, sitting in 5th currently. He's then got Tyler Vickery, Randy Shoemake, and David Costello to deal with as well. But Michele Constantini's just got clean track, and he is definitely setting the track alight.
So gap out to 4.6 tenths of a second at the, 4.6 seconds at the moment as John Emsweiler, he continues to cycle his way around the racetrack. As Robert Grosser is fighting with the number 20 of Tyler Vickery to put him a lap down right now, and he does so. The gap still 4.6 seconds, so didn't lose much time this last couple laps through. Now in the back straight, the entire field, well, your race leader is going to come as he reels in. The next driver that he'll have to put a lap down, that is Sam Whitten, who seems to be struggling. I've seen that number 14 car get pretty loose a couple times. Happened off the second corner about 10 laps ago, and he was just fighting that car off the fourth corner. So Constantini, he's going to be seeing that, Jack, and you know that that's one of those situations you never want to deal with when you're leading one of these races. The worst situation, it's always stressful dealing with lap traffic when you're getting around someone who's so far off the pace and struggling to even drive that car. It really is, it makes for stressful points in terms of keeping yourself out there. And last thing you want to happen as a race leader is someone spinning down in front of you and collecting you into an incident that you had no cause of.
Yeah, because Michele Constantini is going to be currently sitting in there just thinking to himself, oh, how do I get around this person? What if I lift out? What if I lose some time? It's going to lose me lap time, lose me track position, and lose me momentum as well. We've just seen Rory Collins get past the Jack Turner get past the number 34 of Rory Collins, who's going to come down onto pit lane to make his second stop of the day. Randy Shoemaker as well is going to come down on pit lane to make his third stop of the day. But Michele Constantini at the moment is just that half the mental thing of leading a race is, right, okay, I'm leading, I have to keep it here, I have to keep it on the track. The second is, how do I deal with slower cars? How do I get past the cars who are going to be making issues for me? And the number 88 of John Emsweiler, actually, I think he's just had a pit stop. He's currently 2 laps down, and he's going to try and go running outside of Michele Constantini.
That's going to be a virtue of the new rubber. So there's going to be a point right now for a lot of these drivers. They're going to be quicker out there on the racetrack than the race leaders. And John Emsweiler, last time through, he was about a tenth of a second quicker than Michele Constantini. Let's see as they come up and off corner number 2. Can John Emsweiler get this job done? No, not yet. So even though he's got the new rubber, he's had to slot in behind this number 66 here, Jack. And, well, the 66 isn't going to move over and let him through as they deal with some lap traffic. That is Jack Turner on the top side. He goes down another lap and will be 3 laps down.
Yeah, think it's just going to be interesting. Mikel Constantini is not going to give track position up to anyone, however hard they try to get past. John Elmsworth, we know is fast. We've seen him up the front for most of this race. He's just dropped down, obviously, because he has just been down onto the pit lane. He's currently 2 laps down, because obviously you do lose 2 laps being in the pits because of the lap time here. It's so short, 27 seconds, 28 seconds. Could be down into 26s as well if you're on new tyres. But John Elmsworth, he's just looking for a way around Constantini, but Constantini is not letting him through. On the other hand, Robert Grossi, he's dropped to 5 seconds back now from Constantini. Sam Sanders is now 20 seconds back, last car on the lead lap. Robert Grossi's got a little bit of traffic to deal with. That is the car of, it looks to be Davis Stello in the number 12 car. He is a lot of laps down, 4 laps down at the moment, so let's just see how Robert Grossi deals with him.
So Grosser is going to look to the top side of the 12. He takes the bottom exit of corner number 4, and that number 1 machine gets a big head of steam along the top side of the racetrack. And while Costello, he's eventually just going to lift out of that and let Grosser ride on through. And now Grosser, he's going to get his chance at a bit of clean air as Michele Constantini has a bit of traffic to deal with. So this is the ebb and flow of the race leads in these sort of situations. You see the fact that one of the leaders, because of the gap they have, one will oftentimes have clean track, while the other will have a big gaggle of cars. We saw that happen earlier on, and it favored Robert Grosser. And now the absolute inverse is happening, and it's starting to favor Michele Constantini as that gap is out to 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, Mikel Constantini is just using that clear air to his advantage. He has had some lap traffic as well, but he's just getting around the outside. Robert Grosser as well, I don't think he's going to be able to use it to his advantage. Sam Sanders is going to be down onto pit lane in the 3rd position. He's going to make his stop, and nice and early. He's only on the 50th lap of his stint, so I wonder whether the tyres are just going away from each other, and as Mikel Constantini, is going to continue to lead.
So as we are over half distance now in this motor race, us here at RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live are going to take a chance to catch our breath and rest for a moment, as we are been clean and green pretty much all the way through, excluding that one early yellow. So don't go away here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Second half of coverage will be coming soon. Don't go away.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store, and my boss actually built an old dirt car, street stock Monte Carlo. Went with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. You know, I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. You know, the harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. Well, that was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always wanted a semi. I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it, and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game. It's not. It's way above and beyond any of that. You know, dirt racing changes so much. The track changes so much. Being able to capture that, to experience all those details that surround dirt racing and make dirt racing what it is what makes iRacing so cool, because they did nail all of that. I knew when they came to our shop and scanned cars and went to the detail of getting that car right, I knew that it was going to be over the top. because it blew my mind just the work that went into making sure the car itself was legit. This sport has been around a long time. The competition can't be replaced, and that's what brings people back to the racetrack week in and week out.
Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and iRacing live as coverage continues. Hans Pitikainen has a very scary moment with Michael Gerlica right there. I thought we were going to get a yellow and come back pretty much at the optimal point for a bit of exciting action on the racetrack. However, we're going to stay green, just a very, very slight touch, but everything is clean and green still on the racetrack. But welcome back to the Classic IndyCar Series round here from the Kentucky Motor Speedway. 200 laps is what we have on the board, and well, we're 108 laps into this, and it's pretty much been green the entirety of the duration. We had one caution very early on, but beyond that, we've been clean all the way through. Hans Pitikainen is currently your race leader. We saw your top two of Constantini and Grosser come down onto pit lane, and it was pretty much the same as what you saw the first stops of this motor race. Constantini came down one lap early. We got a car in the grass down the front straightaway. Not sure who that is. Jonathan Diggs going through the tri-oval. Not sure what happened. It looks to be some sort of incident all on his own. I'm not sure what happened there, Jack. He just like drove down through the grass voluntarily.
I think he's having a bit of practice for rallycross when that releases very soon onto the iRacing service. He just looks as though he turned a bit too far left coming through the top of the tri-oval, and over the grass he went. So Jonathan Diggs in the 99 just having a little bit of an issue there. He is the first car actually off the lead lap up in P number 7. Although I believe he's still 0-2 as a pit stop. He certainly is. Hans Pitikainen is going to be currently leading your race by 1.5 seconds from the orange 41 of Henry Bennett. Mikhail Constantini already pitted in third, and Robert Grosser in P number 4 in the number 1 car. And John Elsweimer is going to round out your top 5. 6 cars left on the lead lap. Sam Sanders is in 6th, and the final car left on the lead lap. But Robert Grosser at the moment just looking as though he's quite comfortable in the second, but Mikhail Constantini, he is on fire. He's just got past Henry Bennett as well, and Henry Bennett I think is struggling here today, Randy.
Had another look at Jonathan Diggs' incident. I'm still not sure what happened. Maybe he's just bored of the IndyCar fam and he just wants that global rallycross to already come out. But you're absolutely right. It's been, absolutely phenomenal drive by Mikhail Constantini. I mean, Hans Pitikainen still owes us a pit stop, and Constantini is less than a second behind that race leader. So considering there's a handful of drivers that have yet to come down on pit lane, Pitikainen's one of them. He currently leads the race. Constantini has come down on a pit lane, and he's already about to take the lead back. So very shortly, I think in this next round of pit stops, Constantini is going to be on the verge, I believe, of being able to make a stop under green flag conditions and essentially not lose the race lead.
I think you are right there, Andy. I mean, Hans Pitikainen, he is slower than Mikhail Constantini. Mikhail Constantini is the fastest guy on the track. He has been all the race, and Hans Pitikainen just cannot match him. Look at this. Mikhail Constantini going to go down low. Hans Pitikainen up to the high side, and yeah, Mikhail's through. Just Hans Pitikainen has got no grip on those 55 lap old tyres. Mikhail Constantini on 11 lap old tyres. Just no competition at all there, Randy. And Hans, I think, is going to be looking towards pit lane very soon. Same with Henry Bennett. He's just not got the lap time anymore left in that car. Robert Grosser going to be about 6 seconds back from Mikhail, and then John Elsweimer down in 11 seconds back again. Sam Sanders is going to be down onto pit lane this time with the 59 machine. He's just going to come down, find his box fourth from the end, and he's going to stop up on the jacks, fuel in, new tyres, and away he goes. So pit stops are well and truly underway for our second round of pit stops. I would expect to see one more round of pit stops for the end of this race before we can go all the way to the end. 83 laps remaining.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. And just taking a look at Michel Constantini, I just want to get an idea of what the approximate stint time is in terms of laps. But okay, so he came down lap 109, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you're right, Constantini, he's absolutely been flawless today, Jack. If you look at the gap between second place and Robert Grosser, Pitikainen's technically second at the moment, but Robert Grosser is, pretty much the actual second place runner of this race. 6.3 seconds between the top two.
That's a gap that's been going out all day. Pitkinen's going to dive down to pit lane now. So your P2, or your number 8 car currently running in P2 is going to be overtaken by the car of Robert Grosser in the number 1, just around now. And Robert Grosser is going to be promoted back up into 2nd position. So 1 and 2 again, Mikel Constantini and Robert Grosser. Robert Grosser, that gap has just been going out all race, Randy. Just Mikel has got the pace over Robert, and we have seen this all season from Mikel. He is lightning quick on the ovals. Don't think we've had him at any of the road courses because he's going for the Oval Championship. He wants honours in the Oval Championship. He's not bothered about the road. That was wrapped up by Lucas Seville 2 weeks ago at Motegi. Currently running in 5th, but still owes us a pit stop. He's 1 lap down on our leader. So Lucas Seville actually having a bit of a disappointing day. He had a rear grid penalty after New Hampshire just about a month ago, where he decided to cause a couple of incidents. So rear grid penalties for him means that he has not been able to turn those into successful finishes. He did last time out at Motegi, but today he's having a bit of bad luck. So Mikel Constantini, he's going to use that, and Robert Grosser is definitely going to use that to get some championship points.
And Grosser's in 2nd. As he said about that that gap between the top 2 of Constantini and Grosser, I believe the Black Eyed Peas wrote a song about this race. I think it went some, they talked about the gap as it just keeps growing, and growing, and growing. As the 41 and the 8 are apparently close on the racetrack, as I'm singing Black Eyed Peas song.
Yes, they certainly are. Looks like Henry Bennett and Hans Pickman. There's a little bit of a gap between them. I don't know whether there's been a position change there. You might be able to tell me, Randy, but it looks as though Hans Pickman and Henry Bennett, yes, there was. Hans Pickman was coming out of pit lane. Henry Bennett just went around the outside. There was no competition there from Hans Pickman because he was about 100 kilometres an hour slower. So Henry Bennett's going to be promoted up into 6th, and Hans Pickman down to 7th. But Tim Miller also, he's in 5th, and he's done his, but he's on a slightly different strategy. He's only 26 laps into his stint, so he could be quite a sneaky one here today, Randy, because he's on an alternate strategy, but he's only got to do one more stop.
I think what's going to be interesting, though, is that I think we're going to see most of the field come down around pit lane at the same point. So I think for him, even though he's been, on a slightly alternate strategy, I think it's going to actually equal out, that he's going to hit the pit lane pretty much around the same point as everybody else. Just going to be sort of a convergence of all the strategies. So somewhere around lap number 150, 155 is about 50-55 laps to go, rather, is about where we're going to see these guys start coming down onto pit lane, and that's going to be in about 30 laps time, because it's about a 55 lap run in the end. I think for the most part, Jack, you can come down pit lane as soon as you can, but we know that these Indy cars, they like themselves light and they like themselves new tires. I think for the most part, we're going to see most people push that to about 50 laps to go, maybe even closer to 40 to 45 laps to go until they come down for their final stops. They're probably going to run this tank pretty much dry.
I think people are going to really push this car on this stint to have that shortest time possible for that final pit stop. Jack Turner in the number 83 is going to come down to pit lane to make his 2nd stop. He has done a 60 lap stint. I don't think I've seen anyone do more than 60 laps, so 60 laps is definitely the cutoff of the fuel here, Randy, and we have 75 remaining. So looking at Mikel Constantini, he's 21 laps into the stint, so he's got around 40 laps before he certainly has to pit, probably 35 before you see him come down to pit lane. So we are going to see these guys starting to pit with around 40 laps to go, which is going to make that final battle even more exciting.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be the case. Is if you're on how many cars have Mikel Constantini lapped watch. Well, he's lapped up to 4th place at the moment. The top 3 are currently the only cars on the lead lap. So it's Mikel Constantini, who being the race leader, will always be on the lead lap, and then Robert Grosser, he is about just under 7 seconds behind in 2nd place, and John Ensweiler is another further 7 seconds back in the 88 machine. So 7-second gaps separating them, and Ensweiler about half a lap behind. So it's very, very close to where Mikel Constantini is borderline lapping the field. And I just hope we don't see a Paul Tracy at Phoenix issue where you crash out in the race lead with a 2-lap gap over the rest of the field.
Yeah, just going to go back a little bit further into your field. Looks like we've had a bit of side-by-side action between Andrew Adair Saunders in the 4 and Jos van der Ven in the number 18. Jos van der Ven in the 18 has just been able to get past and through, but here comes the number 4. We're going to look down to the low side. Not going to be able to do it because that number 41 of Henry Bennett is going to be sitting down on the inside. But it looks as though Jos van der Ven has been able to get around Andrew Adair Saunders, and there's just a faster car coming through there as well. That is the number 8 of Hans Pitkänen down in P7 after his pit stop. He is going to be on the charge. Henry Bennett's not too far ahead. This could be a battle to watch, Randy, because we've seen these two go at it so far before in this race, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do it again.
That said, Henry Bennett's already stretched out a pretty good gap over Patrick Keenan, who pushes a little high on the exit of that second corner. So because of that lap traffic, that gap opens up, and this actually takes away our other fight as well, because Saunders, actually I take that back, Saunders elects to come down onto pit lane. That's not the driver who I thought it was. So that other fight we were initially going to tune in to watch, and that was going to be between, actually I believe that guy came down on the pit lane as well. So I think every time we shifted focus to a fight here, Jack, I think it pretty much dissolves itself within about 3 corners.
Andrew Adair Saunders actually is coming down to pit lane really early. He's only 41 laps into it, so I wonder whether he's got an issue with that.
Can't make it to the end here.
Yeah, he can't make it to the end, so he's got to do another stop. I wonder whether that number 4 car has got an issue as he just overruns his pit box as well. So Andrew Adair Saunders really not having the day he wanted. Mikel Constantini's got the gap out of the front out to 7 seconds over Robert Grosser, 14.7 seconds over John Elsweimer. That is your top 3 there, the only 3 left on the lead lap. Robert Grosser was in 4th but owing a pit stop, and Tim Miller in 5th, again owing us a pit stop. So after those two have pitted, it's going to promote Henry Bennett up into 4th position and Hans Pickenen up into 5th. These two have been going at it. We've seen them go at it before, actually, Randy, in this series. They have been brilliant to watch, and they're always nice and clean with each other, and always good at battling.
So looking at Andrew Saunders, this is really interesting to me because he came down on pit lane somewhere around lap 90, Jack, and he just pit on lap number 130, and we know that the window is about 55, 57, you know, it's in that sort of window of around 55 laps, and he just did 40. Now granted, even if you were to push out that extra 15 laps, I still don't think he can make it to the end. But it'd be a heck of a lot closer than coming down on a pit lane when he just did. You know, if he had pushed out another 15 laps, he'd be on lap 147. And considering he's laps down, he's currently 5 laps down right now. He'd be able to make it to the end of the race, but he can't make it to the end of the race, I don't think, from here. I think Saunders, he just pretty much guaranteed himself to finish really deep in this field if we don't get a caution. Then again, even if we do get a caution, he's laps down from a lot of the people he was just fighting with.
Adair Saunders, I think, is just dug his grave. He's currently 5 laps down on the same lap as Davis Costello, who is a long way, about a half a lap ahead of him. So I'm not sure those two are going to be having any battles anytime soon. And the next car back is going to be a lap down, the number 20 of Tyler Vickery. He's had a few issues here today and just not having the race he wanted. But looking out on the circuit, not too many battles. Closest cars out there are actually Henry Bennett and Hans Pickenen, and there's still a half-decent gap between those two. So at the moment, Randy, everyone's just settling down into a bit of a groove and just going to try and run these final 66 laps towards the end. Mikel Constantini's still going to leave. Robert Grosser maybe trying to chip away at the gap, but no, he's not. He was slower on the last lap round.
Well, he's still going to be trying to chip away at the gap, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be successful. Just because they didn't make it to the peak of Everest doesn't mean they didn't try, but still, it's going to be... I don't think Grosser is going to be able to reel this gap in under green. I think it's going to take, you know, some sort of mistake from Constantini, be it his own mistake or even getting involved in a mistake of some lap traffic. But I don't think Grosser is going to be able to chase down this gap in the last 50 laps of the motor race, considering it's taken 140 for this gap to even grow in the first place.
I think Grosser, his best bet at the moment is to get a caution. He's got a 7-second gap to Mikel Constantini up at the front, but Robert Grosser just cannot pull it back. He's losing time, and we need a caution really to see this lead battle spice up a bit, but that's not going to be what we want. But the 88 pits after 44 laps. Randy, what's going on? Because everyone's pitting really early with 62 laps to go, and I'm not sure that they cannot make it to the end with 62 laps.
Well, we're assuming 55 laps on the window, and it is possible that our information isn't quite correct. It isn't out of the question that maybe these guys know a little bit of something that we don't, because ours is just a rough ballpark estimate, but granted, it is supported by what we've been seeing happening here today. So I'm not really sure. I mean, we still have 45 minutes left of running, so we have more than enough time to make this to the end here today if we stay green. So I honestly don't know, because I have no clue.
I wonder whether John Emsweiler is just banking on a caution, maybe. I have seen people do 60 laps in, so
he'd still be trapped down a lap, though.
Yeah, he is down a lap, so it's not impossible for him to get to the end here. We've got 61 laps remaining, 60 for him, so actually, I think he can make it to the end here. He's now on lap 142, so he is under the 60 lap threshold, just about under the 60 lap threshold. So but it's just going to be a bit touch and go. As we see Lucas Seville on the number 10, he's going to come down onto pit lane for his stop. Going to be stop number 5 for him. He has not been a stranger to pit lane today here at Kentucky Motor Speedway, and he's going to come down again. He is tumbling down the order, already down in 6th, and he's not even at his pit box yet. He's going to just come to a stop. There we go.
So it's going to be a long run from him to the end. Remember, we got 60 or so laps to go, and based on our estimates, that's going to be really, really deep into this run. So a little bit of maybe a long pit stop as well. It seems like he sat there longer than I've seen most people do so, and now he's going to get himself back out onto the racetrack, as Michele Constantini, under 60 laps to go for him. Basically, I think he could just stay out for an extra 5 laps. And then, well, he can pretty much guarantee himself to make it. But I'm still perplexed by a number of these people here, Jack. Because, I mean, John Emsweiler, I think, is the one that his strategy makes no sense. Because you mentioned, maybe he was trying to get a caution. And you were right to a certain extent. The problem is that he was a half a lap behind the leader before he ever came down on pit road. So he's always going to drop down to 2 laps. Michele Constantini is always going to drive 2 times around him. And now, even if he gets a caution, he's still trapped a lap down as opposed to being on the lead lap.
And also, another issue is we haven't had a caution since the start of the race. We've done nearly this whole race so far under green flag. We obviously had that first caution for that 3 wide Memorial event, Andy Morgan. But then again, after the restart, we didn't even make it two green flag laps before we got a caution. But since then, it's been lovely and clean, lovely and easy. It's in a couple of mistakes, a couple of spins, but nothing which has been worthy of a caution. So at the moment, I don't think a caution is what you need to bank on. I think the strategy needs to be 60.
He needs a comet to hit the earth. That's what he needs.
He does need that. Yeah, he definitely needs that. But don't bank on cautions, I think, is the best way to go now. Bank on 60 laps of green flag running. And if we get a caution, we get a caution.
So, as they currently run, lead gap is out to a very, very small 8.5 seconds on the racetrack. And this is one of the things that's interesting to me, Jack, because I know for you and me, where our experience and our expertise generally lies in the endurance side of things, an 8.5 second gap to us normally isn't a lot. But for these guys, this is huge. We have a few cars on pit lane right now. Sam Whitten, he's rolling out of his pit box actually right now. We also have, I believe it was Tim Miller down on the pit lane, and yes, indeed, that is correct. Another car behind him as well. I believe that's the 34 of Rory Collins. So a handful of guys coming down to their final stops, and this is on the far end of being able to make it. Granted, a lot of these guys are 4 or 5 laps down, and that's one thing to consider, Jack, is the fact that, for these guys that are laps down, they're not technically racing to that 200 lap point. They're maybe racing to lap 197, 198. That's all you really need to factor in for their strategy.
Yeah, they will probably have a counter somewhere which will tell them how many laps they have remaining, and also just be able to take away how many they have remaining in their head, obviously going on how many laps down. The likes of Johnny Garrett and Andrew Aitken, who is he is 71 laps down and out of this race. But Johnny Garrett is our last running car. He is 13 laps back, so he is definitely he's not going to... Oh, as we see Tyler Vickery, he's just gone for a last-minute lunge onto pit lane. What happened there? He got loose out of turn 4 and completely missed the entrance to pit lane, and he's just avoided the pit wall there. That is great driving by him, but he has had to get onto the pit. He has had to get onto the speed limiter, and he is down onto his pit lane. I think actually he meant to come down to pit lane and forgot there, Randy.
I'm not so sure. I'm watching it back, and he doesn't really slow that car up. No, I think he got loose. I don't think that was intentional whatsoever. I think he got loose, and that's just where the car went. He came down on a pit lane in such a way that he missed the cone, so he's going to have to take a penalty. And when you have to take that penalty as it is, you might as well come down and just fill up, take tires, and get your last stop done. So for Tyler Vickery, he's going to fall way down the order because of that penalty for an unsafe pit entrance. But it's better to take that penalty and then just take the tires as well than it is to essentially do a stop and go, come around, and then do another pit stop a handful of laps later.
And it can get to the end from here, Randy. We are now under 50 laps to go now. This time around, Michele Constantini still leading, and the only car left on the lead lap is Robert Gross, 8.5 seconds back. So we are definitely in the pit window now for that final stop. Any of them could come down now. Johnny Goretti is going to be coming down the pit lane this time. We don't see anyone else making that dive. Everyone else just seems to be out at the moment. The number 20 and the number 82 are moving on pit lane. They're now going to be rejoining on the inside of turn number 1. So nobody in the pit lane as of now, but everyone at the moment is going to be starting to look at their fuel numbers, starting to look at how much they need to get to the end. And I think that's going to be important here today.
Has been a heartbreak as well with Tyler Victory with that little bit of an issue as he came off that fourth corner, because he's gone down from running fairly strong in your mid-pack and he's lost a few laps as a result. So the 06 comes down onto pit lane as well. So that's going to be Randy Shoemake. That's going to be his final stop of the race here, Jack. As coming off now, again, that fourth corner, Michele Constantini is going to go around even more so. And I think we're expecting him to come down pit lane relatively soon. And Grosser, if the status quo stays what it's been since the first round of stops, we should see Grosser go 3 laps longer.
I believe Grosser will go 3 laps longer and just have that slightly shorter pit stop. But Grosser is just, he's not got. Even in pit lane, he can't make up 9 seconds. That's impossible, especially in IndyCar. In endurance racing, as you said, Randy, 9 seconds is nothing. 9 seconds is something that you can work out for 45-50 minutes and slowly make up. Here, we don't have that. We have 47 laps, and it's going to be, at the most, 20 minutes left in this race. And Robert Grosser just has not got the laps all the time to make that up. And he certainly cannot do that in a pit stop. When the pit stops are a minute and a half, like we're going to see in the Neo Endurance Series, starting in just 2 weeks' time when we have the first round at Sebring, we're not seeing that today with these pit stops.
No, we're not. I mean, we haven't seen any issues whatsoever here as they've worked themselves now into 1 and 2. Michele Constantini still stretching the gap larger and larger. That's approaching 9 seconds out there on the racetrack.
Yes, Michele Constantini is going to come down onto pit lane. He is going to make his final stop. Now, I saw him getting on the voice chat earlier on in this lap, probably just saying that he's coming down onto pit lane. So, Michele Constantini is going to be... Let's see what Robert Grosser do. Grosser's going to stay out. Let's see how many more laps he does. I'm going to keep my eye on Constantini, Randy, as he comes down onto pit lane. Make sure he makes no mistakes. This has got to be a pitch-perfect stop here from Constantini. And in fact, they both crossed the line at the same time. The gap when they crossed the line was Robert Grosser in first, Michele Constantini, oh sorry, apologies, it's just updated for me, 4.5 seconds back. So Robert Grosser has retaken the lead. Constantini is going to get into his pit box nice and safely this time. He's going to go up on the jacks, get a full tank of fuel, and he is moving once again. Now he is gone, wheel spin away, and away he goes, hitting the 72 km an hour pit limiter, sorry, 80 km an hour pit limiter, and he is out moving. He has dropped 1 position, Randy, in all of that. Let's see what Robert Grosser does now.
Well, he's been out for 1 extra lap, and as we've been so deep in this race, we, of course, when talking about the Logical Classic IndyCar Series, have to talk about Logical, which offers professional solutions to satisfy the needs of sim racers. With the help of a passionate professional team, they have created several tools that easily adapt to a sim racer's needs, including their way of driving, reacting, and feeling. Logical intend for you to experience each lap, each acceleration, each turn like never before, to make it feel you are in a real race car. Logical, proud sponsor of the Classic IndyCar Series, and Robert Grosser, he comes down onto pit lane as expected 3 laps later than Michele Constantini. He works himself through the pit entry down on the apron and into pit lane, and Constantini, 1 lap already goes back his way as he cycles through on the racetrack right now. And now across, start, finish, and into corner number 1 and 2. And there's going to be one thing that's interesting here, Jack. The fact that Constantini's going to have 3 or so laps less of fuel he needs to take compared to Constantini. It's not going to be everything in terms of that 8.5 or so second gap, but it's a place to start.
I reckon you'll probably see Robert Grosser's pit stop around a second shorter. He's just come to a stop and he's down on the jacks. He's moving. No, he's staying stationary. He's now moving. His pit stop is going to be 9.7 seconds, so only half a second shorter than Michele Constantini. But Constantini has got back into the lead. The number 66 has technically taken the lead. He's got a gap 8 seconds, and it's growing because Robert Grosser isn't even up to speed. So Robert Grosser,
that's going to be huge.
That is going to be huge. It's now 10 seconds. What? Michele Constantini has definitely used that new tyre advantage to its full, and the gap is 11 seconds and growing.
11 seconds, but we're going to get an update of when Grosser crosses start-finish. So he comes across start-finish. Now the gap is 11 seconds on the racetrack. So somehow, some way, we said that Robert Grosser was going to have a short stop because he needed, you know, that few laps left to fuel, and somehow he's had a longer stop. I'm confused.
Yeah, we see that sometimes in the Classic IndyCar Series. It sort of spikes up a bit in the in it, but that's interesting. So let's just see what Robert Grosser can do. He's 11 seconds back. I think all opportunities for him winning this race have well and truly gone. So he is just gonna run around, I think, keep that second place. But just behind him, actually, 5 seconds behind, is Henry Bennett. But Henry Bennett and Hans Pitcairn both are stopped. They're on their 42nd and 44th and 42nd lap of their stint respectively. So these guys have still probably got another 10 laps before they pit. These guys, and they are not a worry in this battle. John Emsweiler in 5th, though. He has made his last stop. Not sure whether he's going to have to do another one. It's going to be very touch and go here, Randy. He's going to have to do about 65 laps to be able to make it to the end, but he's 20 seconds back of our leader.
I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, that's just, I mean, you know, 65 laps, considering the average window we've been seeing is about 55, 57. It is very, very difficult on these Indy cars on an oval to stretch out that big of a margin. And really, I don't think there's any way to stretch out that many laps. A lot of times on these oval tracks, Jack, you know, stretching out 1 lap, stretching out 2 laps feels like, you know, an enormous accomplishment. Stretching out 8, stretching out 9, I'm not sure if that's doable.
It's certainly not, especially here, and you're going to be running flat out as well. Okay, he's got about 20 seconds to play with to the car back, because obviously he's a lap ahead of Caton's Bombers batch, and he's going to be a lap ahead of Henry Bennett, who pits now. Hans Pitcairn is going to be out and doing more laps, but Emsweiler, he's got a little bit to worry about with his fuel. I think he's going to have to make another pit stop, and I don't think he's going to be able to hold this podium.
So through everyone is running once again, and still big questions on a handful of drivers here in terms of pit strategy. The top 3 as they run: Michael Constantini, Robert Grosser, and Hans Pitcairn. Important to note, a handful of drivers still owe us pit stops here on the racetrack. Robert Grosser, he continues to fall in that gap, Jack. It was about 11 seconds when they exited the pit lane. It's fallen another 6 or 7 tenths in favor of Constantini.
Yeah, Constantini is again on fire. He has just crossed the line to start another lap. He's got 35 laps remaining in this race, but Michael Constantini, 35 laps remaining in this race, and he's just pulling away from Robert Grosser. Grosser has got nothing to answer from this, so it's just going to be a case of bringing it to the end, I think, now for Grosser, because he's got nothing to answer with, or answer to Michael Constantini. Constantini has been on fire all year in the Classic IndyCar Series, especially on the ovals. So to see him doing well, I think he will wrap up the oval championship here this weekend. No one can beat him. He's on 3 wins. We've still got 1 more race to go on an oval, but no one's going to get close to him.
Yeah, it's been just a phenomenal drive for Michael Constantini as we're approaching that 30 lap to go mark, and it's just I've seen very few people dominate IndyCar races like this. There's some names that have done it. Tim Miller's a name that we know in the past as in years past has had these sorts of drives. Yang Oh in this very car is a name that I'm sure a lot of people maybe not so familiar with these days for a lot of the new guys on the sim, but Yang Oh was essentially the Gregor Hutu of the IndyCar for the time being. Basically, he would find speed in the fixed setups that no one else could. He would find tenths in a fixed setup on an oval track that no one else could even get close to. Handful of drivers have dominated races, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone dominate a race like this.
You certainly weren't watching Motegi 2 weeks ago. Alessandro Dalladone, he didn't take the start to that in the 98, but he dominated here at Motegi in the Rolando Rising Sun, and he just no one could even touch him. And we're seeing a similar performance here today from Michael Constantini, and it just seems to be that the Classic IndyCar Series, you have a few drivers who do shine out. Robert Grosser, Lucas Seville, Michael Constantini, Alessandro Dalladone are the 4 who I've noticed all season long who really shine and really show their colours. Another one would be Andreas Verne. If you go all the way back to the start of the season, all the way back to April when we went to Barber, you just saw him going so fast. But it looks as though we've got a bit of a battle on for P number 9, Carson Broadway and Sam Sanders. Sam Sanders a little bit behind. He's getting close to the 34 coming off of turn number 2, but he's not going to see him. But not going to collect him or have any contact. Carson Brovey looks like he's got a little bit of a gap to Sam Sanders, but with some Sanders up at the front, so we expect him to be much faster than Brovey.
So potentially a fight happening in the closing stages of this motor race, but Sam Sanders has just lost a little bit of speed as a result of the traffic. 0.2 of a second is what he hemorrhaged, and well, it's not looking very much better for him as well. Sam Whitten, who is laps down compared to him, 2 laps down, I think has a slightly quicker race car at the moment, and he might be keen on getting that gap and getting around him. So look for Sam Whitten to maybe make a move on that number 59 machine if he gets close enough. Also, Carson Broderick, he's still opening that gap up lap on lap here, Jack. That gap last time through is only a few hundredths, but that driver in 10th spot in the 59 Lotus Scheme race car, not able to reel the gap in, which is what he needs right now.
It certainly is. Sam Sanders just is not getting there and not getting the laps he needs. He's around 12 laps into his stint, so he's got slightly older tyres than Carson Brovey, but he's just not been able to find the pace. I think he's just getting to that point in the race where the tyres are, or the drivers are more worn down than the cars, so you just have to be careful and have to be patient with each other. And I mean, we've got to see what happens over the next few laps, but I think the drivers are starting to get into a groove where actually they found somewhere where the car is stable and they're not pushing too hard.
So as we're approaching 20 or so laps to go here, about 25 when they come across the stripe, we also have to mention Joel Real Timing, the secondary sponsor of the Classic IndyCar Series. And for every driver, well, not for every driver, but for every race, the driver who has the least amount of incidents, Jack, will be moved, they will be given a Joel Real Timing Pro Key for, after the race. So every race this season, every driver with the fewest amounts of incidents will be given a Pro Key for Joel Real Timing. Very useful, very nifty set of software done by Mr. Joel Guiz of Vortex. And well, on the ovals, it's relatively easy for the leaders to rack up 0 incidents, but on the road courses is where it's been really strong. But I may need to get Jamie Wilson involved because he could rack up on years of Joel Real Timing Pro Keys at Team Chimera, given some of their stats in Neo in seasons past.
I mean, Joel Real Timing, I use it myself all the time, and it is an excellent application. There is a free version available. I recommend to anyone just having a go, just trying it out, and if you like it, €15. It goes to Joel Guiz. He does a great job, and even in endurance races with the glitch where the spotter disappears halfway through the race, he even has a little box now in the corner which shows you where cars is, and it is the most helpful thing in the world. So anyone get Joel Real Timing, and it is a great partnership with them and the Classic IndyCar Series. They returned again for this year as a sponsor, and at the moment everyone but 5 cars, those 5 cars being Henry Bennett, Sam Sanders, Jonathan Diggs and Tyler Vickery and Andrew Aitken, are in the running for that Pro Key. So I don't know how the organisers are going to choose who gets it. I think it's just going to be name out of a hat, Randy, but there are a lot of cars up for grabs, a lot of keys up for grabs, I think.
Yeah, there certainly are a lot of cars out there running very clean races, and that's the thing, Jack. It's been a super clean race all day today, and we saw that one incident early on, which hampered a couple cars, and we see a couple guys scrape the wall. But really, attrition hasn't played a part in this race. You have you have Andrew Aitken, who's 103 laps down, and Johnny Garrett, who's 16 laps down. The rest is people, they either had issues with strategy or maybe issues with ill handling cars and taking some extra pit stops because of that, trying to solve that. But it's been one of the cleanest IndyCar races I've seen in a very, very long time.
Certainly is, and the 59 has just got through the 78, so Sam Sanders has been promoted up to 8th position and Carson Brovey has been knocked down to 9th, but the 78 is not giving up. He's going to be looking down into turn number 3. Where's he going to go? He's going to go high. Sam Sanders is going to go low, but it's as though the grip is starting to come to the low side of the track, Randy, but Sanders is going to go high, just missing the wall there on the exit of 4 as we come around on the tri-oval to start the next lap. 21 laps remaining for Michael Constantini up in the lead. 20 laps now remaining for Michael Constantini up in the lead. So we are now approaching the final stages of this 200 lap race. We are going to go the full distance with just under half an hour remaining on the time limit of 2 hours. So we're going to go all the way. We're going to hit the 200 lap marker, and Michael Constantini at the moment is in pole position for the win.
Oh yeah, he's as long as he doesn't hit anything really, really hard, he's got this pretty much in the bag. As we got one driver coming down on the pit lane, That is the number 12 of David Costello. He pits from 12th place. Very loose situation as he actually comes down on a pit lane. Really struggling to keep that car down on the apron, but he does a good job to do so. And he now gets that car slowed up to pit road speed. So I think this might be one of our early stoppers that we saw, Jack. About 30 or 40 laps ago, that pit was like 60 laps left, thinking they could somehow make it. I think David was one of those. He now comes down on pit lane for what will be his final stop. And well, because of the way this race has fallen, he's going to fall well and clear down the order.
He's dropped down
and
to
he misses
16th
box
already. Oh, he does. So David Costello is going to have a few issues there onto pit lane. He's just going to make sure that he has to reverse. He went about 2 boxes clear then, Randy. He's really missed it. He did a sort of the opposite of what Lewis Hamilton did a couple of years ago after he moved teams back in 2013, where he drove into the McLaren pit box and not the Mercedes one. Whoops. But David Costello, we've seen a couple of drivers actually say, Randy, having a few issues on pit road, missing their pit boxes, and this costing them time.
It's one of the things that happens, I think, under green flag conditions, because it's one of those situations where the drivers, they haven't gotten a break all day today. And it's one of the things in oval racing that if you're used to doing endurance racing on the roadside, it's something you might be a little bit more used to, because very few leagues or series actually throw cautions in these sorts of races. Well, in those sorts of endurance races. But the guys on the oval side, they're used to getting cautions in most of the races. Maybe not necessarily being caution filled, but, you know, a caution every, you know, a couple cautions every 100 laps is usually for a lot of these guys. I think about the average, Jack, and to have a race like this, there's a lot of guys who their mental conditioning, they're just not used to running, you know, laps on laps on laps on laps like this. And that's where you see those little mistakes happen down on pit lane. Maybe you miscalculate a fuel number as well. And, you know, it's sort of I don't want to say a skill in its own right, but some people have that knack and they can just get themselves out there on the racetrack and run 300 laps without stopping. Other people simply can't.
It's almost, I mean, obviously, going back to what you said about the roadside, in the official series, we do not have a cautions. I've never seen a caution thrown in an official series race on the roads of iRacing, and very few road leagues actually use cautions. The only one I can really think of is the DGFX Endurance Series, which is obviously shown here on RaceSpotTV. We're going to have a look at P number 4. What have we got? Lucas Seville and Henry Bennett. Lucas Seville, I believe, still owes us a pit stop here. Randy, he's got a pit. He's not going to do 13 laps. All he might do, actually, I think he's just going to be running on fumes by the time he crosses the line if he doesn't pit again. But Lucas Seville and Henry Bennett, they are within a second of each other. Henry Bennett is just making his way through some back markers. That being the car of John Emsweiler. But I think Henry Bennett is another lap back. Yes, he is. So Emsweiler's third place is safe. Ignore me. I'm just trying to keep up with what's going on the circuit at the moment. Yeah, that's true. The 88's got to make it to the end first. So Henry Bennett could get third, could not. But Lucas Seville, he's made his way back up the order. I think he's going to be in fuel saving mode now, Randy, just to get to the end.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the lap chart. I'm trying to find exactly when that last pit stop happened. It happened quite a ways ago. Lap number 143. So he's going to have to try to stretch a 62 lap stint out of this. As there's currently, we're quickly approaching inside of 10 laps to go. It's going to be 11 to go at the line, 10 to go next time by as Constantini crosses the stripe now, and just keep an eye on that lead group. 11.8 seconds is the margin, so essentially 12 seconds out there on the racetrack. Michele Constantini has stretched out a third of the lap at the 66 of Constantini. Very scary moment with lap traffic. That was Randy Shoemake as it came off the second corner. Should get a replay of that relatively shortly, but Shoemake was fighting with Sam Winton, got a little bit loose, and he almost collected the 66, and I think Constantini, that's probably a brown stuff and pants moment there, Jack.
I think a change of underwear is going to be needed for Constantini by the time he finishes this race. That was extremely close then, and you couldn't put a lolly stick between those two after the car of Randy Shoemake got sideways. But Michele Constantini is still going, to everyone's delight at home. His lead is now comfortable 11 seconds, I would say. I would say probably half the racetrack. So Michele Constantini is seriously flying at the moment in the number 66 machine. Robert Gross is going to be in second. Next car back is out John Emsweiler. He's a lap down on Michele Constantini, so 2 cars left on the lead lap, and Michele is not going to be able to lap Robert before the end of this race.
So keeping an eye on people, we just had Rory Collins. He came down on a pit lane in that number 34 machine. He came down on the pit road on lap number 145. I want to just do a quick double check. John Emsweiler, he pit somewhere in a similar point, if I remember. He pit at lap number 140, 141. So he's even further off kilter. And you see that number 88 machine. Look how slow he's running. He's trying to save fuel the best he can. Let's look at Lucas LaVille as well. He pit in a similar ballpark, lap number 142. So one driver that's already pit in about those same points as both LaVille as well as John Emsweiler has already realized they can't make it and come down on pit lane. So I think for both of these guys, they need to be really, really nervous inside these last 10 laps. They may need a caution to end this race to have any hopes of making it to the end.
Well, I've just had a look at previous lap times. John Emsweiler he's laid back a bit. He's trying not to go too fast. Lucas LaVille, on the other hand, he is going for it. He was faster than quite a few guys behind him and ahead of him on the last lap. He is definitely going for it in that 5th position because he wants to catch Henry Bennett on the off chance that John Emsweiler has to pit so that Lucas LaVille gets that 3rd. And all of a sudden, Lucas LaVille's championship looks even more certain. His lead at the top is going to be there. And at the start of this race, Randy, we were talking about maybe him losing the lead to this championship going into Vegas. This time, no.
Yeah, he's going to finish, if he can make it to the end on fuel, it'll be with it'll be very close, and it'll be finishing with a top 5 position. So for Lucas LaVille, it's going to be a very good drive regardless to sort of take something, take a good finish from a race that he may or may not have had any right actually finishing very well on. And he might pick up another couple spots, given the fact that you have John Emsweiler, who we think, we're really questioning right now whether or not Emsweiler can make it, because you have Lucas LaVille, who's out there, been pushing pretty much up until this point on his fuel number. And I think the thing to keep in mind here, Jack, Michele Costantini, he's currently has 4 laps to go on lap number 201. So while we look at someone like Lucas LaVille and say you need to do 100x laps, we need to be sure to subtract that by 2. So Lucas LaVille, he's only going to be running to lap number 198. Currently working lap number 196, I believe, at the moment, as Michele Costantini is going to come across the stripe. 3 laps to go right now.
Looking at the stint length for Lucas LaVille, he is inside the 60 lap limit I mentioned earlier. He's just completed his 57th lap on his stint with 3 laps to go. He will make it to the end. John Emsweiler, on the other hand, he's come down to pit lane. The 88 is coming down to pit lane, so Henry Bennett is going to inherit that 3rd position, but Lucas LaVille probably a little bit too far back to challenge. But Emsweiler in the 88 just not being able to stretch the fuel far enough.
I think Lucas is going to get this. Lucas is coming off the 4th corner, and Emsweiler, I believe, has lost another lap since. And as they come across through, we'll get confirmation. But Emsweiler in his box, and Lucas LaVille is on the same lap as him. And yes, Emsweiler has already crossed the line. Lucas inherits P number 4. There's 2 laps to go. Going to be white flag in the air for Costantini. So from here to the end of the motor race, the number 66 machine, Jack, absolutely flawless, and LaVille, he inherits 4th.
Yeah, LaVille is going to go up to 4th. That is going to help his championship so much. Robert Grosser and Michele Costantini. I mean, Robert Grosser, he might not have been at the front all day. He might not have been battling for the lead, but he's the only car who's not 1 lap down. Actually, not even. The next car back is Henry Bennett. He's 2 laps down. So Michele Costantini has managed to lap the field twice.
As that happens, the number 66 machine in Costantini, he will cross the stripe and finish this motor race. Robert Grosser, 12 seconds back. He will win, or excuse me, he'll finish 2nd here, but it'll probably feel like a win considering he's the only car that Costantini didn't put a lap down. Henry Bennett will finish 3rd. 4th place is Lucas LaVille, and Hans Pitikainen will round out your top 5. John Emsweiler does a good job, and he's going to be able to scratch a 6th place finish out of that one after being so far down the order and running on that off strategy. So well done by Mr. Emsweiler to really bring that back in and be able to retain that top 6 position. That said, we're going to go down your post-race results after 200 laps of action here from Kentucky. Michele Constantini will come away with the race win, with Robert Grosser in second. Henry Bennett will finish third, Lucas Seville fourth, and as I said, Hans Pitkänen will round out the top 5. John Emsweiler sixth, with Michele Constantini starts his donuts. Karsten Brody in 7th, Sam Sanders 8th, Keaton Bombersback 9th, and Tim Miller rounds out the top 10. Michael Gerlicka in 11th, Jonathan Diggs 12th, Sam Winton 13th, Joss Van de Ven 14th, Randy Shoemake 15th, Jack Turner 16th, David Costello 17th, Andrew Saunders 18th, Rory Collins 19th, and Tyler Victory rounds out the top 20. John Garrett, Andrew Aiken are the last of your runners, and Alessandra Della Donna did not take the green flag here in the Logical Classic IndyCar Series. And as always here, sorry about that. As always here in the Logical Classic IndyCar Series, Logical offers professional solutions to satisfy the needs of sim racers. With the help of a passionate professional team, they have created several tools that easily adapt to a sim racer's needs, including their way of driving, reacting, and feeling. Logical intend for you to experience each lap, each acceleration, each turn like never before, to make it feel like you're in a real race car. Logical, proud sponsor of the Classic IndyCar Series. Post-race coverage of the Logical Classic IndyCar Series will be coming at you in just a moment time. Don't go away. Welcome back here to RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. As post-race coverage begins here from your Logical Classic IndyCar Series here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. And post-race interviews coming through. I will shortly be stood by, I believe, with race winner of Michele Constantini, who put in absolutely one of the best races I've seen in a long time, Jack.
Yeah, he will be. Hopefully, he's not here at the moment, but Michele Constantini dominated from a Leicester flag victory, and Robert Grosser is here though. He finished second. He is with you now, I believe, Randy.
No, he's not. We're going to be stood by with the race winner, Mr. Constantini himself, as he decided to be a late joiner here to the TeamSpeak server. But Michele, what a run it was for you today. Absolutely flawless lap on lap on lap. You come away with 11-second victory. You had that scary moment in traffic with about 10 laps to go. Was that about the only stressful point in the race for you?
Yeah, hi guys, and thank you for everything you do for the interview. Yeah, it was a very fun race. Everyone behaved very well in the lap traffic. I had a lot of fun. Me and Robert worked a lot on the setup this week, and it worked out.
And we're talking about this motor race today. Me and Jack mentioned it, that a lot of oval drivers, we had one early yellow and then it was green all the way to the end. A lot of people mentally, maybe even borderline physically, they can't really keep up with that. How is it for you having to drive basically the entire 200 miles of this motor race completely clean and completely green? How difficult is that mentally, physically, compared to maybe even doing, an endurance race on the roadside? Obviously, there's only a, hour and 40 minutes, a relatively short run for some people. But on the oval with all the traffic, things get really stressful. How was it for you?
Oh, trust me, I'm sweating so much now, and yeah, it's pretty hard, but it's fun because this way, everyone can show how fast you can go, and I had a lot of fun. Everyone behaved very, very well, and so we made the whole race on the green, which was very, very good for the series and for the spectacle for everyone.
How difficult was it for you? Because I mean, lap on lap, you were the fastest out there on the racetrack, and you stretched an 11-second lead over Robert Grosser. How did you manage that? Because Robert was super quick, and we had a couple other drivers that were fast as well. But in the IndyCar, even in these long races that stay green for a long time, 11-second leads can be somewhat unheard of. How did you manage to be so much quicker than Grosser?
Yeah, in the first stage, he was staying in the draft about 1 second, not more than 1 second off me in the first stint, and then when the pit stop came, I was about 3 or 4 seconds, and I gained a lot of time for some reason in the pit entry. And even though I overshot my pit stall twice in the race, I could gain a lot of time anyway, and that was pretty much it. And we had a setup where we had to lift, so I was using way more fuel than Robert. So I think I was using more throttle than him, and that may be the difference.
Well, congratulations today, Mr. Michele Constantini, on a superb race today. Fantastic victory. Good luck to you in the final round at Las Vegas. But before we let you go, any shout-outs? Who would you like to thank?
Yeah, I would like to thank Vortex Sim Racing, and especially Robert for all the help. We helped each other with the setup this week. I would like to thank also the series sponsor, JRT and Logical, and everyone, and you guys for always providing a very interesting and very well-made broadcast. Thank you, guys.
Thanks to you as well, Mr. Constantini. And moving on down the order, Jack, you stood by with second place finisher Robert Grosser.
I certainly am. And Robert, first of all, congratulations. You second place finish. You were one of only 2 cars left on the lead lap there by the end. So obviously you spent most of the race just working through lap traffic, and you did most of it under green. Was there any moments in the race where you sort of got a little bit scared by lap traffic, or you had a few moments?
Yeah, but only a very few moments, because really most of the guys did really a wonderful job. This was a very heads-up driving by everyone, and they really made it as easy as possible. There were some situations where people in front of me were even fighting 3 wide, but even then it was not big of a problem. As soon as they have solved their situation, they were giving me the room to make the pass, and this was really really nice driving today.
And obviously strategy is going to be important here. We didn't see any cautions, or many cautions. We had that one right at the start of this race. So just take us through what it was for you. Obviously you were running longer than Michele Constantini ahead of you, but you just you couldn't turn that longer stint runs into gain net time on the track.
No, actually, it's no secret that Michele is my teammate, not only here in Team Penske, but also in Vortex Sim Racing. So we were on the same setup, pretty much on the same strategy. I only was a little bit later on my stops because I could save fuel in his draft in the early stint. That was a secret because we were starting exactly on the same fuel load. But what can I say? I was just not good enough to beat Michele. He did a wonderful race, a wonderful job, and this 12 seconds lead that he had in the end, that was all on him. That was not strategy, nothing, not the traffic. That was just him doing a fantastic job today. So congrats, Michele, very well done.
Now, before we let you go, Robert, to go and celebrate your second place finish today, who would you like to thank?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you, Jack, for doing these broadcasts again. As usual, I'm really looking forward to see it. And then there is, of course, our main sponsor, Logical, Joel, Real Timing, the Lionheart Retro Series. And then I would, of course, like to send some special greetings to Andy Morgan. I hope you were able to watch this race from from some other place.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, your second place finisher today and league organizer for the Classic IndyCar Series, Robert Grosser.
Moving on down the order, last interview of the day.
Nope.
That's going to be with Mr. Lucas Laville, who's apparently been talking in our waiting room, but that's okay. But Lucas, bit of an interesting strategy from you today. You came down on pit lane for a pretty early stop in the early goings, and well, me and Jack were a little bit questionable about how that was going to work out, but it seemed, even though it stayed green, that it worked out pretty nicely for you, 19th to 4th on the grid. How's it from your perspective?
Actually, this was not planned at all. Like 3 laps before that stop, I hit the wall and I some right front damage. Took me 2 laps to let everybody by and get on pit road. So I lost like 15 seconds, not maneuver, plus the stop that was completely on schedule, and I was 3 or 4 laps short on fuel when I pitted at this time. So tough race. I have no idea, to be honest, why you made it up P4. This is completely unexpected and just saved my championship, I think, this race. This performance just saved my year.
Talking about that, going into next race at Vegas, you're going to be able to have the opportunity to fight for that championship. What's your opinions on that? How are you feeling? How confident are you? And do you think you can maybe scratch this up?
After my performance today, I think the hardest part is done. I will be starting up where I should at Vegas because all my penalties are used now, so I should be good. My job is just to stay in the pack, stay safe, keep Robert and Henry in sight, and the championship's mine.
Well, hopefully, good luck, Lucas, on that one. That will be an amazing race to watch at Las Vegas. But before we let you go, any shout-outs? Who would you like to thank?
First up, I would like to thank everybody in the league for doing such a great tribute at the beginning of the race for fellow member Andy Morgan. This one was for him for sure, and hope he appreciated it from his perspective up there. Then thanks to you guys for being once again with us today and witnessing, surprisingly, a green race.
Yeah, very clean race, very green race indeed. So thanks for joining us, Lucas. Good luck out of Vegas.
Thank you, guys.
So, on that note, that is going to do it for us here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live for your Classic IndyCar Series race from Kentucky. But we're not done with coverage here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live. Of course, you have the World's Fastest Gamer. That's happening currently right now, round number 3. And coming up next here on RaceSpotTV and iRacing Live as well, we have the 2K World Cup happening at VAR. Look out for that. 35 laps of action around the tricky circuit in Virginia. But for myself, Randy Chinnet, from Jack Stiles, and from Hugo Louis, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all the sponsors of this series, including, of course, Joel Real Timing and Logical. We'll see you for the season finale in Las Vegas. Bye-bye.